I cannot tell you if it's going well or not because it's been like 2 days. And it felted a lot. It was a lot bigger than that before. And I count like that with the needle. Those pastel green and pastel blues and pastel beige. It's so cute. I am shaped like a cone and I'm toying with the idea of making a dress. Hi, my name is Maya and welcome to episode 74 of my knitting podcast where I share all my thoughts, process and other random stuff about all things fiber related, but mostly knitting. Today is the 22nd of April 2026 and I'm coming to you from the French-speaking part of Switzerland where I live with my gecko. It's been a while and I have a ton of stuff to tell you about. I looked up and I think it's been, no, not I think, it's been 6 weeks. 6 weeks since the last podcast. That's unheard of. Usually I podcast like every week or every 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but 6. I have a bit too many things to show you because I have like 7 finished objects. I'm not gonna show everything today. First because it's gonna take too long and also because I showed most of them in the last video, which was the stash update for the month of March. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk about the ones that make sense today and keep the other ones for the next podcast. So today I have 3 finished objects, 3 works in progress, and the pattern release 2 actually. I'm gonna tell you about my holidays, because I went on holidays, and it was so nice. And I don't have any acquisitions. However, now that I say that, I took the decision that I'm not gonna talk about my acquisitions anymore in the podcast, unless I cast it on immediately. Because since I've been doing the stash update video this year, it's just exactly the same, because in the stash update video I show you what I have acquired in the month. So if I also show that in the podcast, it's just 2 times the same content, which is boring for me and for you. So I'm just gonna stop talking about my acquisitions in the podcast, and it's for the best for everyone, I think. So no acquisitions today. Not that I really have any anyway, but yeah, whatever. So let's start with what I'm wearing, which is one of my finished objects. It's so cute. This is my 30s top. It's a summer top. I'm wearing sweatpants as always, but imagine a nice look with a bottom that looks better than this. And it has a v-neck and it has a super cute bow on the front. It's huge, but it's so pretty. And it has a bit of body shaping here. It has a lovely double knit detail on the edges. And the yarn I used is Studio Linen Echo, which is not the same as Studio Linen, by Erica Knight in the colorway Lighthouse. And this is a linen blend, as the name suggests. But it's 70% viscose, I think, and 30% linen, something like that. And the Studio Linen, not Echo, is 85% recycled linen and 15% linen, or maybe the opposite, whatever. They are almost the same, but the thing is, they are changing the... I think they are discontinuing the Studio Linen and changing it into Studio Linen Echo. I don't know why, but it seems to be the case on their website at least. So I decided to try out the new one because I have used the Studio Linen. And they say on the website that they are behaving exactly the same, and if you do a blind test you cannot tell the difference. I can tell the difference. It's not the same yarn for me. It's also beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's amazing, I love it. But it has less drape than the other one. I mean, it still has a glorious drape. It's a little bit crinkled because it was shoved in the corner, but yeah, it's still a beautiful fabric. Yeah, amazing, I really like it. But the other one, the Studio Linen, not Echo, was even better. But maybe it was a bit too much. But yeah, whatever. Just to say, there is a difference between the two, but it's still a beautiful yarn and I really, really like it. This is a sport weight gauge design and the test call happened last week. So it is currently in testing and I just realized now that I forgot to mention the test call over on YouTube, which I usually try to do. However, I was on holiday, so already doing a test call on holiday was too much. So I'm sorry, I forgot about YouTube, but yeah, I I shouldn't be working on holidays, right? So yeah, I guess you're gonna pardon me for this time. Whatever. So the pattern comes in two options. So this is the, no, it has a lot of options. But one of the options you can choose from is having a closed front, like this one is, so it's joined in around in the body, or have an open front, like is my first sample, which is here. And as you can see, it's open. So this one is knit with a silk boucle yarn, so it has even a better drape. But I'm going to show you pictures because you're going to see much better than what I'm going to be able to do here, how this one fits. And you can also have optional body shaping and bust darts, horizontal bust darts, which was a bit complicated because there is the closed option and the open front option, and of course the bust darts are not knit the same way depending on which option you choose. So yeah, it made the pattern a lot more complicated than I thought it would, but I'm happy I did it because initially I was like, oh, I'm just going to tell you like close the front if you want to have like not a cardigan. But then I realized how much complicated that was, so I included everything in the pattern. And it's currently in testing, and I cannot tell you if it's going well or not because it's been like 2 days. But for now, it's going well. Now, regarding this one, this sample, it was such a struggle because so many things happen. So first, I'm doing something weird. Usually when I knit something that needs to have like a nice fit around the shoulders, is that I knit a smaller size on the front than on the back because I am a smaller size on the front than on the back. I say that all the time, I'm so sorry if you're used to it. Which means that in this case I need size 4 for the back and size 2 for the front. And what I do is that like I knit size 4 for the back, and then when I pick up stitches here on the shoulders, it's knit top down by the way. When I pick up stitches here, I skip 1 or 2 stitches and then I do a little bit of decreases here, and then I do like 1 less increase here in the v-neck, for example, which means when I get to the underarms, I am at size 2. Basically, that's what I do. But it's quite a lot of math, especially in the case of a v-neck and when I'm designing the thing at the same time, so it's not as if I can just follow a pattern and like circle the numbers I want because there are no numbers yet. So it's easy to get lost, and I totally got lost, especially because I was knitting this while I was on public transit, going in and from the Swiss Yarn Festival last month. So it was a bit difficult to concentrate, and I did so many mistakes. So first, I did the back panel too long, and I of course didn't realize that until I had joined everything in the round and knit a big chunk of the body. So when I realized that, I unraveled everything until the join, and you can maybe tell here, so there is the double knit detail, and it's continuous at the underarm, which is a beautiful detail, and you do not do that by picking up stitches and then doing a double knit edge. You do that on the go, which means that when you join in the round, it's a bit more complicated than just cast on stitches at the underarms. So I had to undo this complicated thing, shorten the back panel, and then I rejoined in the round, and I restarted knitting, and I tried it on again, and there was still something wrong. It looked like the back panel was too long, but actually what happened is that the fronts were too short. Because basically here, so this is a European shoulder construction, so the shoulder seam is supposed to sit at the back of the shoulder here. It's not right here in the top, but on the back. But if I placed the shoulder seam correctly on my shoulders, like the front was fitting like this, and I had this high-low hem effect, and the back was falling super low on the back, and the front was lifting on the top, on the front. Didn't look good at all. It looked like I needed bust darts, even though I don't. It was so weird. And I knew for sure the back panel was the correct length, because I had just redone it, so I knew it was correct. And the problem was in the front, because when I did the modification, like I pick up less stitches and I do decreases here and then I do 1 less repeat of the v-neck, I miscounted. I just miscounted, and I was missing 1 or 2 repeats of the v-neck increases. So I was missing like this much in the front. So of course it wasn't fitting. But at this point I was already like down here, and the photo shoot for this guy was happening like a few days after that, and I still needed to film the tutorials for the bow because the pickup is a little bit tricky, and I needed to finalize the pattern, and yeah, I really needed to finish it. So I finished the body. I filmed my tutorial for the bows because you need to have a completed v-neck for that. and then I cut off the body, the whole body, because I couldn't just cut here because there's a double knit detail here. I mean, I think it's possible, but since double knitting happens is a repeat on 2 rows, you know, and when you cut something, you need to unravel 1 row. I wasn't sure what was going to happen here, like if it was even possible, or if I would have the 2 needles connected on the sides and I would need to unravel 3 rows if I wanted to separate them. I was like, no, I'm just going to cut here. So I cut just below the join. I unraveled the join and the fronts. I lengthened the fronts, I rejoined everything in the round, and then I grafted the top part to the bottom part. It was such a mess. But I'm really proud of myself because you cannot see anything. There is a seam somewhere here. Completely invisible. And it's very difficult to do with a linen yarn. So I'm super proud of myself. So yeah. It was a journey, but we made it. And the finished object is so incredibly cute, and it's exactly what I wanted and even more, and I'm so happy. And the best part is that the bow doesn't even flop. Like, I was really worried that if I lean forward, I mean, I'm trying not to show you my décolleté, not like I did when I was wearing this one in the podcast. The décolleté was pretty intense, so this one is better. But yeah, it's not really straight, but at least it's not like flopping forward. It's staying straight, it's staying like this, even if I move. During the photo shoot, I didn't really have to mess around with it, even though I was very active. So I'm pretty happy about that. It's not a coincidence. It didn't happen by accident. I did something, like I said earlier, that the pickup was a little bit tricky for the bows, for the ribbons. And that's why it stays upright. It's because you do something for the pickup. But yeah, I'm happy that it worked. So that's it for this one. Now, I also want to tell you something about this one. Because my whole issues with the back being too long and the front missing an increase, all of that, is also because the row gauge in this fabric was completely different to the row gauge in this fabric. So I had to do calculations, and that's when I did the mistakes. If I could just follow, because when I knit this one, the pattern was already written, but the row gauge didn't match, so I had to change all the numbers. So I went back to the drawing board and I checked what the gauge in the pattern looked like. And it was something like 23 stitches per 40 rows, which is weird because usually the proportion between stitch gauge and row gauge should be about 2/3, which is why, for example, when you pick up stitches for a sleeve, you pick up 2 stitches out of 3 rows. So if one stitch would be a square, the width and the height would be proportionally 1/1, but a stitch height is 2/3 of its width. But with the 23 stitches per 40 rows I had when I measured the gauge on this fabric, that's not the case. It's more like the height of the stitch is half of the width of the stitch, which is not usual at all, which is super weird. Which is why the V-neck was way too low, way too deep. And I assumed the issue was with blocking, because when I tried it on before blocking, it was fitting fine. And in my swatch, which was big, but not as big as this, the gauge didn't change much with blocking. But when I blocked this one, it stretched out completely. So I was like, the issue was blocking. Not entirely. Because when I went back and measured the gauge on this one, to be absolutely certain that it was really 23 stitches per 40 rows, when I measured it flat, it was still 40 rows per 10 centimeters. But the math were telling me that if this was 40 rows per 10 centimeters, it should fit me fine. But it didn't, obviously it didn't, because yeah, it just stretched out lengthwise. So I was like, what's going on? How can math be wrong? So I tried something. I hang it like this and I measured the gauge when it was hanging, and lo and behold, the gauge was 35 stitches. So between when I measure the gauge flat and when I measure the gauge like this, there is a 5 rows difference. That's huge. And it has never happened to me before, because usually when you block something, even if it's flat or hanging, it's the same. The transformation happens in the blocking, not in gravity. But here it did. So that was very interesting. And I ended up just changing the row gauge and pattern. So I regraded the whole thing with a 35 row gauge, which is much closer to the 2/3 proportion between stitch and row gauge. That's what happened. And it was yeah, it was interesting, and you live and you learn, I guess. And you will know too now, without having to go through the trouble of knitting a whole piece and then it not fitting you, even though when you measure the gauge, it looks fine. By the way, if you're wondering how on earth did I measure the gauge on something when you can't see any stitches, I hold the thing like this in front of a light and I try to see the horizontal bars, which are the head of the stitches, and then I put a marker in one. Like I just catch one of the horizontal bars, and I can only see that when I have light shining behind it. Like it doesn't work on a flat surface, I cannot see anything. I have to hold it like this. So I put a marker in the top part of a stitch, and then I use a needle, and I poke with the needle inside the holes, and I move around to be sure that I'm not counting the loop of a bouclé, but an actual stitch. And I count like that with the needle. I count 5 horizontal bars, and I place another marker, and I do that until I have like, I don't know, 10 markers or something. And then I lay it flat, and I count the markers, and I can tell by eye if it's like halfway through the next marker, or maybe 1 stitch or whatever. And I can count the gauge like this, which is also how I could count when I was holding it, because I could just like hang it and place a ruler and then count the markers to my gauge. And I could definitely see that it was stretching out between the flat and the hanging out position. So that's a trick for you. All right, I think that's it for this one. That was a long story, but I thought it was important to say that because I had never heard about that, so you probably haven't either. All right, the next pattern I want to tell you about is also a finished object, but I don't have it with me. I can only show you pictures, but they are beautiful, so it's fine. So this is my new sweet sweater sample. The sweet sweater is a pattern of mine, and it's like the vanilla sweaters of all sweaters. It's just the most basic raglan, except it fits better than traditional raglan you can see around. But it doesn't fit as well as a compound raglan. But I wanted this to be a beginner-friendly pattern, and compound raglan are just a bit too much for beginners. So I did a kind of an in-between, but still it fits really well compared to just a vanilla raglan would. And the pattern is available for free on Ravelry if you use the code SWEET. So this is the pattern release I mentioned. I released it at the beginning of April. I was also on holidays, so I had to do a pattern release when I was on holidays. But it's okay. And yeah, the pattern is available on Ravelry and Payhip, and there is a price. I think it's like 4.5 Swiss francs, something like that. But again, if you use the code SWEET, it's free. I just put up a price because I know some people have messaged me in the past asking if I have like a Patreon or a Ko-fi, something like that, which I do not. So I want to give the possibility to people to support me if they want to, so they can like pay for the pattern even if they don't want it, I don't know, or if they want it. But if you don't particularly have the possibility or just want to do that, you can just get the pattern for free. And same for the sweet socks, which also came out on the same day, which are also the vanilla socks of all the socks, but with a better fit. So it's a DK weight pattern. There are a lot of sizes, and they have a short row heel, but there is an option to make a gusset before and after the heel, so that you have more room if you have a high instep. And I also put so many sizes into this pattern that basically if you want to knit like a fingering weight sock, you can just knit the largest size of the DK weight pattern, and it's the same numbers as if you were using fingering weight. So it's kind of a double-in-one pattern. You're welcome. And it's also free with the code SWEET. You're welcome. But anyway, let's get back to the sweet sweater. So this new sample is knit up with a Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colorway French Anémone. Anémone Française. Which is a beautiful color. And the yarn I had never used before. I had never used Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive. And it's really soft, it's really nice. It's not scratchy. However, I think this gauge is a bit too loose for this yarn, in my taste. I think for a lot of people it's going to be beautiful and perfect, but for me personally it's too loose. The suggested gauge for the yarn is 18 stitches and the pattern is 17 stitches, so I used 5mm needles and I knit quite loosely to achieve that gauge. And I think I find that when I wear the sweater, it creases very fast on the arms, at the underarms, and kind of everywhere. and it looks scruffy, super fast, like an old sweater. The fabric doesn't really have any integrity, and it's just not my thing. I just prefer denser fabrics in general, so I think this yarn I would prefer at like 19 or maybe 20 stitches gauge, something. So this one is a bit too loose, but it has a beautiful drape, and I have no doubt for a lot of people it's going to be the perfect combo. So if you like loose fabrics or just want an easy to wear sweater that's super lightweight, which is also the advantage of a loose gauge, definitely go for this combo. Or use something else, do whatever. It's a free pattern anyway, do whatever you want. And so for the fit, the two things that make the fit better than the standard raglan, I would say, is that first there are 2 increase rates for the sleeve, so it's not like increase 2 stitches on the raglan points every other row. There is like a second section where you increase every 4th row on the sleeves, which means you increase less fast on the sleeve, which allows for just a better fit in general because the body is shaped like this, not like this. So yeah, this is the first thing. And the second thing is that the short rows on the neck. So usually when you have a raglan, you have all the short rows here on the front to like lower the front neck, but this doesn't do anything to make the back neck higher. It just makes a hole here, that's all. If you want to make the back neck higher, you want this seam, this raglan seam on the front, to be shorter than the raglan seam on the back. And to do this, you need to do the short row turns here on the shoulder, so that when you knit the short rows, you have to knit the back side of the raglan without knitting the front, which effectively makes the back longer than the front, which raises the back neck and lowers the front neck and just gives a much better fit in general. So that's the second thing. And it's a bit trickier to grade, of course, because you have to increase on the back while not increasing on the front, and you have to account for that when you set up a raglan at the beginning. So it's a bit, yeah, a bit more involved. But still, everything is in the pattern. Even if you're a beginner, you just need to follow the steps and you should be fine. So yeah, that's the sweet sweater. I hope you will enjoy the pattern. Actually, I know you do, because I was blown away. Like, I was on holiday and I was getting absolutely spammed by emails of Ravelry telling me, you have a new download, you have a new download. I got like 300 emails of people who downloaded the sweet sweater and the sweet socks, and I was, wow, calm down. I just want to chill. And every time I was checking my phone, I had like hundreds of notifications of people downloading the patterns, which is cool. I'm super happy you liked it. So yeah. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. I mean, it's a free pattern, so I didn't get a lot of money out of that, but I was still really happy to see like the how do you say that? The engouement. In French, it's engouement. That's it for the pattern releases. Now, let's talk about my other finished object, which is this giant thing. So this, if you watched the stash update video, you know what this is. This is a laundry basket that I felted. So I knitted an absolutely huge bag thing, and then I threw it in the washing machine on like 40 or 60 degree cycles to felt it. And it felted a lot. It was a lot bigger than that before, but it felt in a bit of a weird way because I didn't use the same yarn on the bottom and here. So this is Drops Snow, and this is We Are Knitters The Wool, and this one felted a lot more than this one, which is annoying because it means that the bottom is smaller than the sides, which really doesn't help the thing like lay straight. And also, since this one didn't felt as much as I wanted to, it didn't get as stiff as the bottom. This is definitely stiffer than this. So it also doesn't help it to stand straight, but whatever. That's not what I want to talk to you about today. What I want to talk to you about is the bottom. You can maybe see it has kind of a star shape. That's because of the way I did the increases. So, if you've been here for a long while, you know that I have a blanket whip on the go for years, and it's the Arctic Morning Blanket, and it's composed of hexagons, colorwork hexagons, and you knit them in a round, so you cast on in the center, and then you increase in a hexagonal shape in colorwork, so you knit in the round. And I know for a fact this gives a flat shape because I have the blanket to account for that. It works, it just works. So when I started this, I was like, I know a few different ways to have a flat shape, and one of the ones I know is this blanket. I know how to do the cast on and yeah, it's just something I'm familiar with. When I was like, I'm just going to do that for the bottom of the laundry basket. However, when I finished this, I was like, why is the bottom not laying flat? I mean, you can probably tell I cannot get it to lay flat. There's just too much fabric. It's doing these folds. And if I fold it like this, now it's laying flat. I increased too fast. But how on earth did this not lay flat when the blanket absolutely does? It must be something in the proportions between stitch gauge and row gauge. It always comes down to that, apparently. But I try to understand still a bit further, like why? Why would this not work? And then I realized that, for example, when you knit a raglan and you increase every other row on 4 points, but twice at each point, meaning that you increase 8 stitches per increased row, every other row, that gives you a circle. Like if you fold the raglan in half and you just hold it like this, the shape is like a flat on the top and then you have a circle on the bottom. So you actually get a round shape when you increase on 4 points twice. So 8 stitches increase per row. But on this one, as you can maybe count, there are more than 4 increase counts. There are actually 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So of course, if I increase on each of those lines twice, and I increase every other round, I increase too many stitches. So of course, my shape is not laying flat because there's too many stitches. It's just not working. And I'm so pissed because I could have just thought about that. But I was just so, like, it was just so misleading that I need the whole blanket and this was working perfectly. But yeah, it must have something to do with the row gauge being longer when you need color work. And my row gauge was really short on this one. I don't really know. And also in a raglan, it's not exactly flat like this. It's more like shaped like this because of the shoulder slopes. So I guess it's more, maybe 5 increase points would be the best to have an actual circle. And here I have 6, so it's just 1 too many. So I'm really annoyed because now that this is blocked, I mean not blocked, it's felted, I definitely cannot go back and just re-knit the bottom. So I'm stuck with it like this and I don't really know what to do, and it's not helping me do the things I could do to felt this side more, because I'm like, it doesn't lay flat anyway. One thing I could do is cut one triangle off and like cut also on this side and just have one seam so that the circumference is smaller and just remove one triangle. However, I have the handles, the 2 handles here. So if I remove a triangle on one side, the handles are not going to be centered anymore. And I don't want that. So I would need to cut the whole thing in half, remove half a triangle on both sides, and then reseam the whole thing together. I'm not ready to do that. So in the meantime, it's just staying in a corner and it's bothering me and I don't know what to do. But I will come back to this later. All right, now we can talk about my works in progress. So which one am I going to start with? I'm missing one. Okay, let's start with this bad boy because it's one of the most exciting. This is my Patagonia Peaks Lite, so it's the DK weight version, and it's my summer version. It's so cool. It's my summer version because it's in a summer yarn, because it's a blend of cotton and wool, and also because it's in summer palette, because it's pastel colors. It's so pretty. I love it so much. Look at that. Those pastel green and pastel blues and pastel beige, whatever. Oh, it's so, so cute. I'm so happy. It just makes me so happy. So I cast this on when I went on holidays. We went down to Spain, so we had like 9 hours and a half or something of driving, and I wasn't driving, so I could knit, and it was awesome. So I think I knit the yoke on the way there. I mean, a good chunk of the yoke. And when I came back, I managed to get to the underarm join. Pretty happy about that. So the pattern is currently testing, and the yarn I'm using is Robinson by De Rerum Natura, which is a blend of cotton and linen, but it's woolen spun, so it has a lovely texture, and you can kind of see the nubs of white cotton. It's beautiful, and it's so soft, and it's a joy to work with, and it's so lightweight. Oh, I love it so much. I explained in the last podcast episode the whole thing about the shoulder shaping because the original pattern was too wide and I had to regrade it and I had to restart the test knit. And I decided to do another sample so that I would have the correct fit on my own sample. And the testers mentioned wanting to do summer versions, so I was influenced by the testers and I decided to make a summer version as well. And I'm so happy. I'm pretty sure this is going to be my favorite one of all the ones I have. It's the third one. The first one is the original Iron Weight. It's like the one with the bright pink, green, blue. And the second one is in the blue shades. But the shaping of the shoulders, I just really don't like it and I don't want to wear it because of that, because I feel super self-conscious about the happening on the shoulders. But this one, like I have been dreaming of making a pastel version ever since the test knit of the first Patagonia Peaks, because I think a few testers were doing pastel colors and I love them so much, but they just really don't suit me at all. I mean, I look dead. Those are much better for me. I decided that I don't care. I just want a pastel sweater. So I'm gonna do it, even if it doesn't suit me. And one thing that changed, aside from the sizing of the shoulders, is the way you do the button plackets. Because for the Iron Weight version, so the first version of the pattern, it's a single layer button placket. And it's okay because it's a thicker yarn and Iron Weight is fine for, like if you open up this, you're not tearing out the buttons. It's not buttons, it's snaps. But with the DK weight fabric, it was just too thin, especially with the bouclé. And whenever I have to open the buttons of my bouclé version, I have to be really careful. I'm just going to tear apart the whole thing. So I decided to change it to be double layer. But here I'm not using bouclé. And this is too thick. The double layers are too thick for me to put a snap button on both. So I have to put the snap button on only one layer. So I cannot close this. But in the first version of the pattern, you were doing like, so the construction is that you cast on here at the bottom of the yoke and then you knit it up, bottom up like this. Then you close the stitches on the shoulders, you do the shoulder shaping, blah, blah, blah. And then you do the collar. It's twice the length and then you fold it down like this. And so in the first version of the pattern, then you pick up stitches where you cast on and you knit the rest of the body in the round in color work. And then you come back and you pick up stitches for the two button plackets, and you have to pick up stitches in this little part here and decrease the stitches every time you do a row on the button placket. And it's a bit annoying because the two overlap. So yeah, it's just quite fiddly, it's difficult to explain, and there was a whole 30-minute video tutorial for this because it's a double pickup technique so that you have a neat edge on the outside and on the inside. It was just super complicated. And one tester, she asked, can I like do the button plackets before picking up for the body so that when I pick up for the body, I can just pick up through both button plackets at the same time? And I was like, wow, this is genius. It's so much easier. It's such a good idea. So I decided to do that for the new updated version. So I had to do the button plackets first before picking up for the body. But I was on holidays and I didn't have the snap buttons or the lining I want to add to the inside to be really sure that it's sturdy. So I had to do this weird thing. So I had to put the stitches on hold. And I didn't bind off, but I just bound off the few stitches here at the bottom because I wanted to pick up here. And I bound off those stitches because I don't know, so I'm gonna have to unravel them, unravel the bind off so that I can put the buttons on one side. And same for the back here because I think I want to add also a lining to the collar so that it really stands up. This yarn is pretty like sturdy and not stiff, but it has some body to it, like it doesn't have a ton of drape, but I really want the collar to stand up. I really don't want it to flop around, and I think after blocking it might, so I want to add a lining. So I had to pick up the button plackets without closing this, because you're supposed to sew it down before you pick up here. So I have, yeah, there is a weird opening thing happening on each side, and nothing is tacked down, nothing is sewn, everything is open, just flapping around everywhere. It's a bit of a mess. And I think I'm gonna add instructions in the pattern on how to leave this open, because there is a high chance that you're not sure yet what buttons you want to put in when you're at this stage, and it's a shame if you have to close them, the button plackets, before you can continue. If you're not sure yet what you want, because usually you put the buttons at the very end. So I'm gonna include the instructions on how to do what I did here, because it feels quite necessary. And yeah, I think that's it. I can maybe try it on to show you. The colors really don't suit me, but I don't care. So this is what it looks like, and as you can see, the shoulders fit me perfectly. It's amazing. I'm so happy I went back and regraded it. So this is a size 3, which is oversized. I should have picked size 2, but I wanted it to be oversized, so I sized up. And yeah, this is how it fits. On the back also, with the collar like this. For now it's standing up, but yeah, as I said earlier, once I block it, it's probably gonna floop. And I have to finish it pretty soon, because I have a photo shoot coming. And the pattern is gonna come out on the 21st of May. So I have to get the photos ready before that. So the photo shoot is like in 2 weeks, I think, something like that. I can make it. I can absolutely make it. But I have other things I need to finish by the photo shoot, so yeah. I think it's gonna be a race again, just as it was last month. If you followed it on Instagram, it was pretty fun. But yeah, it's coming along nicely. The next work in progress is something you have already seen quite a few times, I think. This is my mixed rib cami by Florence Miller, and I did a lot of progress. It's not done yet, but I did a lot of progress. This is like my emergency portable project, so whenever I have to go somewhere and I want to take my knitting with me and that like the Patagonia Peaks is too cumbersome, I take this. So I never knit on it when I have like knitting time at home, which is what I usually have, so I don't really knit on it a lot. I knit on it in the car on the way to holidays and a few times there, but that's kind of it. So what I did is I rejoined in around, because I had frogged everything I had done on the body. So I rejoined in around, I did the neckline, the I-cord on the neckline here, so I picked up the stitches and did the I-cord bind off. Same on both armholes. I haven't joined at the bottom here yet. And I have finished the first skein and I have joined in the new one. So I'm at my second skein now. And I finished the body shaping. So here you can see there is a panel of stockinette and I have decreased. No, there is one more decreased row left, round. And then I'm just gonna knit straight. It's taking ages, but I love it. And the yarn is so soft and I love the color so much. It's a nice change of pace that I can just follow the pattern of someone else. However, there were a couple of things, especially with the pickup rates of the I-cord bind-offs, because it's written that it's the same pickup rate for the neckline and for the armholes, which doesn't make sense because here you pick up stitches and here you pick up rows, so you cannot have the same pickup rate. It just doesn't make sense because, as I explained, rows and stitches don't have the same proportions, so if you pick up with the same proportions, something doesn't work. And on top of that, it's written like pick up X amount of stitches per stitches here, even though it's rows. So I suspect there was a copy-paste somewhere that went wrong. And maybe it's a mistake, maybe not. But yeah, if I had picked up with the rate that was suggested in the pattern here, it would be flaring out. So I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, I did the first try where I picked up less stitches than was instructed. It was still too much. It wasn't flaring out when it was like this, but when you wear it, like it stretches like this and it shrinks lengthwise and then it would be flaring out. So I unraveled the whole thing, the whole pickup and I-cord, and I picked up even less stitches than that, and now it's perfect. It's pulling in a little bit, but when you wear it, it's laying perfectly flat. I don't remember what I did. I just know that it wasn't something like, it wasn't 2 stitches out of 3 rows. I did something like 2 stitches out of 3 rows 4 times and then 3 stitches out of 3, whatever. Yeah, something like that. But the result is perfect. However, there's something that I'm not 100% happy with. Because, so when I unraveled the body, It's because the arm side depth, the armhole height was too short and it was cutting into my underarm here. And it's a summer garment. I mean, I can also wear it for layering, but I really don't like when something cuts too high here. So I unraveled until the join. No, until before the underarm shaping. I knit for a good chunk and then I redid the underarm shaping, rejoined in around. Which means the new joining in around was like, it was maybe before here and the new one was down here. But when it was up here and I tried it on, it was also too small, like too tight. I felt like I haven't cast on enough stitches at the underarms. I did modify the pattern because there's a different size on the back and on the front as usual. So I modified that anyway. So I couldn't follow the pattern anymore. So yeah, it was too tight. So I was like, I'm gonna have to cast on a bit more stitches here. However, I am shaped like a cone, inverted traffic cone. So the measurement here is bigger, the circumference measurement here is bigger than here, than here, than here. An inverted traffic cone. So when I initially joined in around here, and it was too tight, the new joining in around was lower, so the circumference was smaller, so it would have been less tight on its own. But I forgot that, and I cast on more stitches anyway, even though I didn't need it to, and now it's a bit too big, because I added too many stitches. Oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. I knew it, but I was like, oh, I'm just gonna cast on more stitches anyway. But I knew it, and it still happened. So it's fine, I can wear it, and it is negatives, but I would have wanted it to be more negatives because it's such a dense fabric with the twisted stitches and the ribbing that if it's not stretched out enough, it just feels like bulky and a bit too much. But once I realized that, I had already done the armhole I-cords, and I was like, I'm not ripping back a second time. So I pushed through, and now I'm a bit annoyed. But it's okay, it's gonna be fine. It could have been better, but whatever, it's okay. So that's my mixed rib cami, and I don't know when it's gonna be finished because it's very low on the priority list. Because I have another summer top on the needles, which is very high on the priority list, and I'm gonna go and grab it. And this bad boy is my new summer design on the needles that I cast on while I was on holiday. It's lace, so it really doesn't look like anything because I need to block it to open up the fabric, but you can still kind of see what's happening. It's a halter style top, so it has this stockinette neckline that's double folded, and then you don't really pick up from it because you still have the live stitches, but whatever. You start knitting from it in this beautiful lace vertical pattern, and it has a keyhole opening on the back, here. Ta-da! And this part is hollow, so you can have you can insert a ribbon inside it, so you're gonna have a cute ribbon here on the back. That's gonna close it. It's gonna be so cute, so whimsical, so unlike what I usually do because I'm really not a feminine and cute and whimsy kind of girl. But I wanted to have a change of pace, so I did it. I'm so happy about this. This had been on my mind for so long. I wanted to do this last year already, but I just couldn't find the time to fit it in the summer pattern releases, so I had to push it to this year. I've been very patient, but I'm finally having it on my needles and I'm so happy. I love it so much. It was a lot of struggles, again, because I have never designed with lace, and as you can maybe tell, there are increases because here the distance between the vertical details is much smaller than at the bottom. So there are increases hidden here, and the increase rate was a bit tricky to get, and I didn't get it right on the first try, so I had to unravel a lot. And same on the back here. So you have this keyhole detail, and it's making a shape like a drop with a point on the bottom. But the first time I did it, I messed up. So this motif goes like this, and I had a point the first time around. It was looking really bad. So I had to unravel, redo this thing, and then join again the two back panels. But now it's done. I'm ready to join it around. However, I'm gonna do something similar in this that I did in this design. So in this case, it's a double knit edge that continues here at the underarm. Here it's an I-cord, but I also want to have a continuous I-cord when you join at the underarms without having to pick up stitches and do the whole border like I'm doing for the mixed rib cami, for example. So I need to film a tutorial, so I had to stop because of that. And it's been on pause since a few days because I really don't like filming tutorials. And something you probably didn't think about, but I climb a lot, of course. I mean, I went on climbing holidays and I love to climb outside, and it's usually a pretty rough context, and climbing is a rough sport. It's also pretty dangerous. And my hands are usually covered in bruises, little scratches, and just blood in general. My hands are not in a very pretty shape. I cannot do my nails because otherwise I cannot hang on the holes, because then the nails would be scratching on the wall. So I have to have my nails cut really short, and my hands just don't look the best. It's just the way it is. So you may have noticed that I have quite a few band-aids on my hands right now. It's nothing bad, but I constantly have scratches on my hands. And filming tutorials, like doing close-ups of my hands, trying to knit on stuff and explaining things, if you have like ugly scratches everywhere, it's really disturbing. And even myself, when I edit, I'm like, this looks so bad. It's disgusting. It just doesn't look good. And I know people are very sensitive to that. Like, you don't want to see an open wound on the hands of the person that's showing you something. It's just, you just don't want that. And filming tutorials, like, I have to aim for a day where I know I'm not going to have any wounds on the hands, but then the project has to wait until the wounds I have heal so that I can film. And I wanted to film today. However, yesterday night I went climbing and I destroyed my hands. On the very last boulder I did, I just scraped both my hands on the wall. I was just tired. I should have stopped. But I had a lot of fun. But now I have I have stuff on my hands again. It almost healed from the holidays. The last thing I have are a little bit here and here. But yeah, I can't film today. I have to wait until this heals, so I cannot knit on this until I can film the tutorial. It's so annoying. Anyway, that's how it is. Logistics when you're a knitwear designer. So other than that, the yarn I'm using is, this is looking pretty bad, but the bowl is almost finished. But I have another one here that I can show. So it's Carla by Save the Yarn. Save the Yarn is one of those brands that buys dead stock from fashion industry and sells the yarn that the fashion industry uses to make clothes into knitting yarn. So it's pretty cheap, but it's also usually like small quantities and like limited in time. I mean, they have to have yarns that come back every season. And I think this one is kind of a staple, but I just checked and there is no white anymore, and I don't know if it's going to come back in stock. But yeah, I really, really love what they have, and it's a Swiss brand and I wanted to support them. So this is 55% silk and 45% cotton. It's a lace weight because it's 375 meters per 50 grams. So I'm holding it double and I'm getting like a light fingering weight gauge. It's beautiful and it's so incredibly soft. It's like next level, but it's also next level dusty, and it just leaves dust everywhere. And since I had to unravel a lot, I'm glad when I did that I wasn't at my place and I left all the dust in the Airbnb in Spain, because it was everything was covered in white dust basically. I'm so sorry to the friends that had to be with me in the Airbnb. So I really recommend the yarn if you don't have to unravel too much, and if you have to unravel, maybe go outside because yeah, it's messy. And yeah, other than that, oh, the name of the pattern. It's called the Plume top because the lace motif here looks like feathers hanging, and I just thought it was cute. And plume means feather in French. The test haul is gonna be end of May, I think. Yeah, end of May. So stay tuned. Oh, something else. I think I would like, maybe, no, I'm sure I'm gonna do another sample with a yarn that's a bit more easy to find than this one. I mean, it's easy to find, but it's just not always available. And I would like to make a stripy version because the motif goes in waves like this. And I'm toying with the idea of making a dress. We'll see. All right, that's all for the knitting. I mean, for now, because I have a lot more finished objects that I'm going to show you in the next podcast episode, which is going to be in 2 weeks, because next week it's going to be the stash update, the April stash update, which for now is really not going great because I haven't finished anything and I haven't acquired anything. I mean, no, I have received a little bit of yarn, but it's like teeny tiny minis. So for now I have nothing to show in the April stash update, but I'm gonna finish something, at least one piece, and maybe the video is gonna be 5 minutes long, who knows. So I wanted to tell you about what happened in the past 6 weeks since the last podcast. So last time I podcasted it was mid-March, and in the meantime, so I put out my spring knitting plans video, and then there was the Swiss Yarn Festival. So I did a vlog for that. It's short and sweet, it's really lovely. I did the April stash update, and the March, I'm tired, the March stash update, and unlike the April stash update, there was a lot of action. Like I got a ton of yarn in and I got a ton of yarn out, and it was awesome. So this video was very satisfying, pretty happy about that. And I published that while I was on holidays, so I had to pre-film it so that I could publish it while I was in Spain. And yeah, I was in Spain. I went on holiday there, and it was climbing holidays because in Spain, specifically in a a small village called Margalef, which is like smack dab in the middle of nowhere. Like the closest village is maybe 25 kilometers. There's really nothing there. Nothing aside from forest and rocks. Amazing rocks. So many like cliffs and rocks and stuff to climb. It's awesome. It's like worldwide famous. There were people from all around the world there. And it's only 10 hours drive from where I live. So it's just perfect to go there. It's the second time I went, but last time it was during the winter holidays, and it was so crowded, like so crowded. It was actually almost impossible to climb because there was people everywhere, which is super annoying, and we really don't like that. So this time we went during the spring holidays, like around, how do you call that? Pâques. Yeah, Pâques. Pasquale? No, I don't know how you say Pâques in English. Yeah, around the spring holidays, whatever. And it's a lot less crowded because it's the end of the season. Because in Spain, it's so hot that in the summer you cannot climb there, almost. So April is like the tail end of the season because after that it gets too hot. So it was perfect. There were not too many people. We could climb wherever we wanted. The weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. It was just awesome. And the whole holidays were perfect. And I climbed so much, and I didn't really have the opportunity to climb a lot during the past 6 months. So my level has really plummeted down slowly but surely. And I was a little bit counting on the holidays to get me back on track. And it worked so well. Like when I left on holiday, I had like my level was here. And now that I'm back, my level is like up here. I got so strong, it was insane. Between the beginning and the end, I didn't feel like the same person. It was amazing. I just feel awesome. I'm so happy. If you climb, I can tell you what I did. So I did 2 7A. One of them I did on site. I did 1 7A plus, and I did 1 7B, which I'm super proud about because it was in my anti-style, like really powery, long moves and on overhanging stuff, which is really not my type of things. So yeah, I really like it. And I have some footage of that. So if you're interested to see me climbing, you can watch the end of the video. I'm going to show you maybe a first video where there was a friend filming. So she was zooming on me and following me as I climbed. So you can see the holds and you can see the moves a bit better. But then I fall. I couldn't, it's the 7B route, by the way. And I couldn't complete the route. But there is a second video where I propped the phone on a tree. So this one is not zoomed in, so you cannot really see very well what I'm doing, but it's the same route as the video before, so hopefully you can just remember what you just saw and see me climb the whole thing. I'm so proud of it. It's not the best thing I have climbed. I have done 7C in the past, but yeah, 7B is already good, especially in holidays, and I did it in 2 days, I think. So yeah, happy about that. However, one thing happened at the end of the holidays, and if you follow me on Instagram, you know already, but I had a bad fall on the second to last day before we left. I wasn't even tired. It wasn't even cold. I just did something stupid, and I fell on the ground, which usually doesn't happen because you're supposed to be like tied to a rope, and the rope is supposed to be tied on something that's called a quick draw on the wall. But if you fall before you can put the rope in the first quick draw, then you fall on the ground. And it's exactly what happened. I fell before I could clip the first quick draw. And I fell first on my foot, and I injured my ankle, and then I fell on my back, and I injured my back, and it was pretty bad. Like, I have a huge, how do you call that, scratch? No, it sounds like a very weak word compared to what happened, but yeah, I affectionately call it a pizza because it looked like a pizza on my back because I just scraped the whole skin off. It looked awful. It was super painful, but I still went back on the wall and I finished the climb, so I'm happy about that. But then on the evening, my ankle was... I shouldn't have done that. It was a bad idea, but it's fine now. My ankle is healed, my back is almost healed, and I went back to climbing when I came home from holidays, and my level is still better than it was before, and I'm still very happy about that. Whew. So that's it for the life updates. I think I haven't forgotten anything. There is one thing I wanted to mention. Maybe you care, maybe you don't, whatever. I did a giveaway a few months back, and I couldn't get the giveaway winners to contact me, and I had to repick new winners and then repick new winners again, and those new winners finally contacted me. So if you wanted to know if this was a happy ending story or not, it is. All the giveaway winners have contacted me and everyone has received their gift and all is well. So we can finally close this chapter. Oh no, one last thing. I teach Mr. Tinks how to knit. And I have so many cute videos of him trying to knit. It's just so wholesome. Especially because he was trying to knit on this, so the lacy thing on 3mm needles. And Mr. Tinks is a really good climbers, and one thing all good climbers have in common is that they have huge hands. So he had his absolutely huge hands trying to hang onto the 3mm needles with the cute lacy project. It was so ridiculous, but it was so fun. And I'm impressed that he managed to do any stitches at all. And after that, he has been asking me to find him bigger needles and bigger yarns, but we were in Spain and I didn't really have anything besides the Patagonia Peaks, but my needles were in the project. So there's a limit to what I'm ready to sacrifice to teach him how to knit. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna try and give him some big needles and chunky yarn so that he can try again with something a bit more adapted to the size of his hands. But yeah, this happened and it was very cute. So this time I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this super long episode. This is a little bit of a catch-up of the last month and a half in my life. And as I said earlier, the next video is going to be the April stash update. Probably going to be super short. And then I'm going to be back with a new podcast episode. And then we'll see. I'm not sure yet. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your support, as always. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any future content from me. I hope to see you again next time. Happy knitting. I love you. Bye. This was like my 5th failed attempt at the 7B route. It was cold, I was feeling stiff and moving slowly, and I knew I wasn't gonna send, but it's still good training to do like a solid attempt, even when you're not feeling the best. And this hold in the right hand really sucks. This move actually is really quite hard, so I had to take a rest here, even though I'm only like 2 meters above the ground. Shaking the arms like that makes the blood circulate and eliminate lactic acid in the muscles, which is the substance that makes you feel pain when you do long efforts. By the way, sanding on route means that you climb it from bottom to top using only your body and the rock, so no resting in the harness or pulling the rope, and no touching the metallic parts that hold the rope. You can't really see them here, but you will see them better later. And of course the whole difficulty in routes like this one is to manage the effort, so you want to climb fast so that the effort is shorter, but if you pull too hard you will get tired immediately. So it's important to take a rest and like a shake when you have good holds, but also speed up when you're in a difficult section, which is called the crux. This section is pretty easy because the holds are all very good, but the moves are big and I'm cold and I'm tired, so I'm moving quite slowly, and I think you can see I'm hesitant and struggling a bit, even though it's supposed to be quite easy. Here you can see that I grabbed the rope and clipped it on a quick draw, so that's only for safety, so that I don't fall to the ground, but I'm not hanging onto the quick draw at any point and the rope is relaxed, so it's not carrying me at all. And this is actually the best resting position of the whole route, but you can see from the way my hair are floating that the wall is definitely overhanging, so it's not as if I was like standing on my feet either. It's comfortable, but you need experience to be able to get power back from such a position. And I'm getting a bit stressed because the next section is the crux, and there won't be a good hold before a good while, and I know I'm probably gonna fall before I get there, so it's starting to be like a mental battle at this point. Here the hands are not that good and the right foot is super slippery, so this is absolutely not as easy as it looks like to do this crossing move. Granted, it is one of the coolest moves of the route and I really love doing it. Okay, so here I'm gonna clip the next quick draw, but I usually clip it later. But my friends who topped the route before me told me it was easier to do it from this position. It is absolutely not. I destroyed my left arm and I split open my fingers. I was bleeding after that. It was a terrible idea and I should have just stuck to my original method. And it's actually one of the cool things with climbing, like there's pretty often more than one way to do something and it just depends on your body and your style of climbing, a bit like knitting, I guess. And here my left arm is completely dead at this point and I know I'm gonna fall pretty soon, but I continue because it's good training and also you never know. And I just grabbed the nastiest 2-finger pocket in my right hand. I feel like trash and the next move is the hardest one of the whole route, but I still push through and I try until I fall. Which I do, of course. So here I took a long rest sitting in a harness and then I tried again. I wanted to finish the route until the top without falling a second time, which is totally doable. So here is the hardest move I did before and it looks much easier when I'm feeling fresh after a rest, of course. The next move is a bit sketchy because the right hand hold is pretty far and not that good and I almost fell. You can tell from the way my head went back when I grabbed the hold. This is also a pretty good resting position. The handholds are okay, but the feet are bad, so I can rest my arms, but my legs and feet are getting tired. However, the rest of the route is quite overhanging and you don't really need your feet anymore. It's mostly on the arms, so it's okay if the feet are tired. And the last section until the top is hard, but I know I can do it without falling if I go fast and I don't do any mistakes, which I don't usually do because I really enjoy this section, so I really know it by heart. And you can see from my hair that the wind picked up here, but after so much effort I'm absolutely not cold anymore, so it actually feels pretty nice. It doesn't look like it from this angle, but the last hold is really far and I almost have to jump to reach it. So if I aim wrong or if I don't launch myself hard enough, I'm screwed. So it's a pretty hard move to finish the route, but it's also really cool. And that's the top. So I took a rest day after that, so this is 2 days later. The weather definitely warmed up and I was feeling so strong and so solid. And you will see that I'm absolutely not behaving the same way this time around. So this is a start from the ground. So for example, if I fell before clipping the first quick draw, which I just did here, I would just crash myself on the ground, which is exactly what happened a few hours later in another route, but I already told you about this story. Here, I usually have to take the first rest because the move I just did is pretty hard, but I was feeling so fresh and so strong that I decided to carry on straight away without resting because I didn't want it to waste time and energy, so yeah, I just carried on. Now let's speed up this part because you already saw it. Basically I'm just clipping the quick draw and taking the rest. However, I had to force myself to stop climbing here because I was feeling, again, so strong and powerful. But since I know the crux is coming and there's no rest for a while, it was the wise decision. However, I took the shortest rest I've ever taken here. And Mr. Tinks even told me afterwards that he was shocked at how fast I climbed and he had never seen me zoom through powerful moves like that, which is kind of true because I'm usually a super slow climber. Although for you this might look slow, but trust me, I'm going fast. And it also helps that this was like my 6th time trying this route, so I really knew all the moves by heart and I was really confident about where to put my feet and how to position my body, which is of course super important. And this time I didn't clip the quick draw here, because I knew this method didn't work for me, so I carried on to clip later. But don't get fooled, this position that I'm in is still quite uncomfortable, but it's still better than the one before. Coming in is the super hard move where I fell before. I will be standing on absolutely nothing and have awful 2-finger pockets in both hands, and it's so hard to just stay in position, let alone give an impulsion to grab the next hole with the left hand. So this is the position, and then I'm gonna launch and do it! And I was so shocked that I started panicking and I forgot what I was supposed to do with my feet, so yeah, that was wrong. Now it's right. And I gave all my power in that hard move, so I felt suddenly super tired and pumped, and I had so much pressure, and I almost fell here. You can see my leg popping. And here I almost fell again. Yeah, my arms were hurting so bad, and I couldn't find the feet anymore because I was just so tired. But here I finally grabbed the good hold, and I could start breathing again. I knew if I could take a good long rest here, I could finish the route no problem. So I took a big breath to calm myself and focus again until the end. And that's a wrap! So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you'd like to see more climbing stuff in the future, and I tried to film some more for you. And until then, happy knitting, I love you, bye!